To our research advisor, subject instructor, STEAM panelists, and fellow research collaborators, good afternoon. Today, we will give you a summary of our study entitled Risk Management Practices of Online Live Sellers of Used Clothing. The term risk is defined by the Oxford English Dictionary as a chance or the possibility of danger, loss, injury, or other adverse consequences. Risk may have positive or negative outcomes or may simply result to uncertainty. In this study, we define risk as the possibility that an online live seller will experience uncertainty in terms of their sales, delivery, and collection. Risk management encompasses the identification, analysis, and response to risk factors that form part of the life of a business. Live selling is a new e-commerce strategy brought by technological advancement to require the advantage of forming a positive relationship between the seller and a buyer. In the Philippines, live selling has gotten so popular that Filipinos are becoming more comfortable with buying goods and services online. The researchers study the risk management practices of online live sellers, and this study will be the basis of the online live sellers to manage the risks associated with live selling in terms of sales, delivery, and collection.
So we have also here mode of payments. Online sellers provide payment alternatives such as payment first and cash on delivery for their customers. According to Calabria 2021, she mentioned in her article that even with internet shopping, the Philippines is still run on cash-based basis. We have also here the risks associated with live selling. So the first one is consumer might expose to microbial infection such as bacteria, fungi, parasitic, and viral infection. We have also poor internet connection, delivery risk, and the last one is the risk consists of fraud risk and credit collection risk. So fraud risk is consists of their servers, also known as bogus buyers, and credit collection risk is a type of collection risk that is associated with buyers, and this risk is inevitable due to the presence of bogus buyers and scammers. Let's move on to our conceptual framework. So this study is based on 5-step risk management process by Rowe 2021, which enumerates and describes the risk management process. The first step is to identify potential risks, which is the most important risk management step. Second is measuring the frequency and severity of risk. Third is examining alternative solutions, whether they will be accepted, avoided, controlled, or transferred. Step 4 is to decide which solution to use and implement, evaluating the possible solutions and deciding which are best solution that is subject to implementation. And the last step is to monitor solution, assessing whether the initiatives are effective and whether changes should be done.
The research paradigm, this diagram depicts the relationship between variables that must be processed in order to produce a result.
Input includes the gender, age, and length of time in the industry of online selling, as well as the sale, delivery, and collection methods used by the researchers to identify the risk and risk management practices of online live sellers of used clothing.
The research process for gathering data will be as follows. First, the researchers will prepare the necessary questionnaires. Second, the questionnaires will be distributed to the selected participants. And third, the researchers will conduct an interview, either face-to-face or virtual. Finally, the questionnaires will be collected and the data will be analyzed and interpreted. Following the input and process, the researchers will draw conclusions or recommendations based on the gathered data results. Statement of the problems. This study aimed to determine the risk management practices of online live sellers of used clothing. Specifically focuses on the following questions. 1. What is the profile of the participants in terms of gender, age, length of time in the industry? 2. What are the risks of online live sellers of used clothing in terms of sales, delivery, and collection? 3. What are the risk management practices of online live sellers of used clothing in terms of sales, delivery, and collection?
Methodology. Research design. A qualitative descriptive approach will be utilized in conducting this study to describe and examine the risk management practices of online live sellers of used clothing. Research local. This study will be conducted at Bayombong, which is the capital of the province of Nueva Vizcaya. According to the 2020 census, the population of Bayombong has 67,114, which is one of the reasons why this study is conducted, for they have the greatest number of residents in the whole province of Nueva Vizcaya. Research participants. The participants will be chosen through a conducted online survey on social media platforms such as Facebook. The criteria for the participants are first, they are residents of Bayombong. Second, they sell used clothing. Third, they are the owner, manager, and live seller. And lastly, they are online live sellers for at least 6 months. For the research instrument, the researchers will make use of interviews which contains open-ended questions. The questionnaire has two sections. First is the profile of the participants, and second, the participants will be asked to identify the list of online live sellers of used clothing in terms of their sales, delivery, and collection, and to examine their risk management practices in terms of sales, delivery, and collection.
In data gathering procedures, the researcher will gather the data through compiling a set of questions from different published studies and video interviews that were related to this study. Then, modification will be made to make questionnaire suitable. After that, the research instrument will have to undergo validation to achieve the accuracy and reliability of the data. For the treatment of data, the data gathered will be presented in a tabular form. The table will consist of 3 columns with corresponding label, sales, delivery, and collection. Furthermore, the analysis and interpretation of data will be checked by St. Mary's University data analyst. In ethical consideration, the study will be submitted for ethics review to St. Mary's University Research Ethics Board. In this study, there will be no conflict of interest because the researcher will not benefit personally from the study, which could compromise the results' credibility. In privacy, confidentiality, and data protection, the information gathered will be kept in strict confidence and used solely for the purpose specified in this study until it is completed. In risk-benefit ratio, the participants will not be at risk in the result of the study, but they will benefit from the findings. In informed consent, the respondent's participation is entirely optional. Before the interview, the researcher will deliver the approved questionnaire together with the informed consent document. In terms of reference, the research output will be owned by St. Mary's University, but the student will remain the authors.
Summary of the findings. For problem 1, the profile of the informants was gathered in order to describe if their age, gender, and length of time in the industry have something to do with their risk management practices. For problem 2, identify the risks of online live selling in terms of sales, delivery, and collection. Table 2 shows the risk of online selling in terms of sales. As indicated in the table, half or 50% of the informants have encountered the risk of loss of investment, while 30% encountered the risk of low quality of goods. 20% answered the ability to keep up with the price, and another 20% answered difficulty in keeping and releasing the capital.
So let's move on to table 3, which is the risk in online selling in terms of delivery. So as we can see on the table, most online sellers experience the risk of difficulty of ensuring the safety of sellers, which has 50%, followed by undesirable attitude of buyers, 40%, difficulty in finding the location of the buyers, and some says this risk is not applicable to them. We have 20%, and lastly, high price of gasoline due to inflation, 10%.
In terms of collection, most of the informants encounter the difficulty of collecting payments from the customers, especially when transactions are done online, and how delayed payments can be a problem. The table shows the risk management practices in online live selling in terms of sales. In dealing with the loss on selling, 4 of the 10 informants handle loss by purchasing bales at a cheaper price. In evaluating return on investment, all of the informants are able to have a return on investment, but most of the informants said that sometimes it depends on how good the bale is. Most of the informants have return on investment that is equal to or greater than 3,000. In determining the saleable items, the informants explicitly told the researcher that not everything in the bale was saleable clothing. 6 of the 10 informants said that the clothes greater than 250 pieces were saleable.
So let's move on to table number 6, which is the risk management practices of online live sellers in terms of delivery. So from the table, it can be implied that communicating with customers is the most efficient way in handling problems on online selling. So in terms of handling problems with the cancellation of orders, as indicated in the table, reselling canceled orders at the cheaper price is a common practice done by online live sellers. And based on the seller's responses, it can be implied that delivering orders within 1 or 3 days is the easiest possible time that online live sellers deliver.
Table 7 depicted the risk management practices used in online live selling in terms of collection. The results are most online live sellers used payment first via e-payments as a mode of payment and offer buyers 2 to 3 days in payment collections. When dealing with bogus buyers, most online live sellers handled them by reminding them of the payments and practicing payment first. However, most online live sellers have no problem encountering rude buyers.
To conclude, for the profile of the respondents, the majority or 60% of the informants were between the ages of 20 and 25 years old, while the other 40% were between the ages of 26 and 30. They are all female, and most or 80% of them has been in the online industry for 0.5 to 5 years. In terms of sales, the risks identified were loss of investment, low quality of goods, inability to keep up with the price, and difficulty in keeping and releasing the capital. While their risk management practices were dealing with loss on selling by purchasing bills at the cheapest price, price manipulation may be increased or decreased on prices. Purchasing bills at a cheaper price is the best defense of the sellers.
Overall, it can be concluded that the risk in delivery includes difficulty in ensuring the safety of the sellers, undesirable attitude of the buyers, difficulty in finding the location of the buyers, and high price of gasoline. But encountering undesirable attitude of the buyers were the common risks experienced by the online live sellers. Thus, the risk management practices in delivery as summarized were handling delivery issues by maintaining a good seller-buyer relationship, rescheduling meetups, setting rules, delivering door-to-door, and sticking to pick-up policy only. In terms of risk in collection, it consists of collections falling short of covering the costs, spending money on other things, and complaints about the high price of items. Also, it was found that in the live selling business, it is inevitable to have a customer who isn't responsible for making their payments on time, and there are bogus buyers who don't pay for the products until the items are left unpaid for several months. Thus, the risk management practices in terms of collection of payments includes identifying the method of payment, setting terms in collecting payments, and handling bogus buyers. Also, payment first through GCash is the common rule of online live sellers to avoid the risk of collecting payments and being scammed. Lastly, collecting payments as soon as possible time lessens the seller's burden of not gaining sales.
Online live sellers may use other platforms for their live selling to expand their target market and increase their sales. They will also use this study to learn from their fellow online live sellers some ways on how to manage risk. In addition, they should also give to buyers the choice of selecting their preferred method of payment and courier. They may also offer it to bid in their live selling, like offering the minimum price and letting the miners bid at their preferred price to obtain an increase in sales. They should also keep researching for new trends to keep their business active and not lose customers and sales. Moreover, they must keep updating their account or page on the sold items to minimize bogus buyers and to gain more trust in new buyers.
Next, we have future online live sellers. They may use this study to learn about some of the difficulties that online sellers have had and prepare themselves to confront similar difficulties by using some of the risk management practices suggested in this study. They may conduct a risk assessment beforehand to help them identify any potential risks associated with sales, delivery, and collection and allow them to take necessary actions to reduce or eliminate these risks. Next, they should also strive to ensure a good return on investment. Next, payment and collection terms should be established that are clear and concise to avoid any confusion or difficulty in collecting payments. And lastly, maintaining a good relationship with customers and providing reliable, timely services is essential in order to ensure customer satisfaction.
For the faculty and staff of School of Accountancy and Business, they may utilize this study as a resource material in audit and accounting courses so students may be aware of the online business, particularly on selling used clothing. And for the future researchers, they may widen the scope of the study and explore more of the topic as well as by performing or developing correlations that weren't indicated or done in it. This is the end of our research presentation. Thank you for listening.